This is Danielle with Hollywood Breakthrough. We have an author on today. It is Kim Pithie. Hey, Kim. She's from the UK. So, hey, Kim, how's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you very much. How are you today?
Doing great. Thank you for coming on the show to talk about your book.
That's no problem at all. So, yeah, we're about 7 hours ahead of you chaps. So we're well into the evening over here. So yeah.
Get some basic background, because the idea is that, you got your first book out. I want to talk to you about, decided to write the book and what key factors such as you drew from, maybe from film or TV. And you also work at the National Trust in the UK?
Yeah, I work for the National Trust. I work in a stately home called Bedingborough Hall, which is not too far away from the Viking city of York. And I volunteer there once a week, and I really do enjoy that, my volunteering there. But, when I was very young, I was poor at spelling. So to improve that, I would write stories where I'll go on adventures with characters from my favourite TV shows. Then one day a family member suggested that I should write a book. Fast forward a few years, and I'm very proud to say that I've succeeded, and I'm an author, and my science fiction book, Marshall Ankara, A Celestial Odyssey, and also the title of it is called Revenge, has now been published as an ebook and is available to buy on Amazon's Kindle.
Where do you draw from all your ideas in your book?
Probably imagination. I'm a keen fan of science fiction and a little bit of fantasy. But again, when I was a child, I had a number of role models who might have been an inspiration for my character, Marshall Ankara. And as a child, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, I can think of 5 actresses who I admired at the time. 4 of them were from the US, and they were Linda Carter, who obviously famously played Wonder Woman, Lindsay Wagner, who played Jamie Summers, the Bionic Woman, Kate Jackson, who I think she played Sabrina Duncan out of Charlie's Angels, and Carrie Fisher, who famously played Princess Leia from Star Wars. And from my home country, the UK, there was an actress called Joanna Lumley. You guys over there probably know her as plays a character in Absolutely Fabulous, but the character that she most famously played over in the UK was Purdy from the New Avengers. They were such strong characters that had a long-lasting effect on me. So maybe they might have been an inspiration for my very own character, Marshall Ankara.
And tell me a little bit more, how is the actual book transformed with the revenge of Marshall Ankara?
The story, Revenge, the character Marshall Ankara, who's a strong-willed woman. She's an intergalactic law enforcer at the top of her profession, who one day learns to her horror that her arch-enemy, the Hunter, has returned from the grave, and now he's seeking his revenge. And so he's destroying anyone who stands in his way and anyone who Ankara cares deeply for. And so he will not stop until he reaches his goal. And so Marshall Ankara goes on a journey of discovery. So you learn more about who Marshall Ankara is, who this character, the Hunter, is. So it's a little bit like a time travel type story. So one moment you see Marshall Ankara in the present, learning to a horror that her enemy has returned. Then you go back in time, you learn a little bit more about who Marshall Ankara is, learn more about the Hunter and how both characters entwine with each other and why they hate each other so much, and why, in the end, the story of revenge unfolds.
Now, on the cover of the book, there's like a symbol of some sort. What is that? Is that like a badge or something that you...
Yeah, there's a company that is based not too far away from where I live. They're a design company, and when I approached them saying that I wrote a book and could they actually design a front cover for me, they said, sure, no problem. We'll do some designs for you and we'll come back to you and see if you like it or not. In the distance, there is a design of a planet. I think it might look like Saturn. And on the front, there's a design of a spacecraft. And then around the spacecraft and the planet, there's like a star shape which could be, the design for the badge, which is obviously Marshall Ankara's.
Now, the length of the book is 280 pages. It's available, again, like you said, on Amazon for $2.99 if you do the Prime, and also on Kindle. A quick question, though, about the character and how you kind of got started a little bit. You said as a child you had a very hard time writing and spelling.
Yeah, I was quite bad at spelling. At school, we would have what we call like a free period. So we would all have like a journal to write things in. And like I said, because I was quite bad at spelling, I would go on adventures. So where I would go to my favourite TV character at that time. So I would have adventures with Wonder Woman. I would have adventures with Jamie Summers. Some of my friends that I would write the story and then they would actually read it and correct any spelling mistakes I would make. And then eventually I would start using a dictionary. So I suppose my spellings would improve. I got into reading adventure books. My favourite authors are Colin Forbes, Dick Francis, Clive Cussler. So also reading those books as well improved my spelling immensely.
Now, living in the UK.
I live in the UK, yes I do.
So what is the scene for authors and trying to kind of get your book started out there? Was it pretty difficult?
Yeah, I would go to publishers with the story of my book, and they would say, yeah, this is a brilliant book, but we're busy, or this is a brilliant book, but you need to go and get yourself an agent. Then I would go to an agent, and it'd be the same with them. We're both busy, go to a publisher, the books, but go to a publisher. And then one day I happened to be on the computer and found out that Amazon had started the Kindle. And they were advertising, suggesting that new up-and-coming authors who are having problems getting their books published, they publish as an ebook and publish it on Amazon. And how I managed to publish it on the Kindle, Amazon were very, very good in their explanations how to do it. They would have step-by-step instructions from uploading the front cover to the story to the synopsis, which would give like a brief detail about the story, who the author is, and the pricing of the book. And then obviously once that was all downloaded, then about 24 hours later, the book was available to buy in the UK. Then the book was in about, I think it was 48 hours, the book was available to buy in the US. And then about a week later, it was available to buy all around the globe.
And that had transition to making sure that you put the book online. So you just.
It was super if I could actually get the book published, the paperback or as a hardback. But at the moment, all I'm doing really is just advertising it to see if anybody's interested. Somebody came along and said, "Yeah, Kim, this is a brilliant book, and we would like to publish it for you." But at the moment, the book is just available on Kindle. I mean, again, if you haven't got the Amazon Kindle, you can download the Kindle app onto your iPhone, your iPad, smartphones, e-readers, tablets, so you can read the book that way.
Right. Think about that you're actually doing other things. You decided to not just write this particular book, but you were thinking about writing.
Yeah, I'm at the moment writing another book. It's another science fiction book called The Chronicles of the Grail Knight, and I'm doing it as a co-author with a friend. When the book is finished, I like to think it could be published as an ebook, again available on Amazon's Kindle, or like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll publish that book for you.
And if you think about a film that you think someone wants to know kind of how this book is similar to visually, what kind of film or movie you think would kind of play along with this? Okay,
that's a very good question. How would I actually relate the film to which would best describe my book? I think I would actually have to go back to the 70s and 80s when I was a child, and there's only one film I can actually comes to mind, and it was a massive impact to everybody that actually saw it. I don't think anybody saw such a film like this before. And that film would have to be Star Wars.
Okay, great.
like I said, growing up in the 70s, I mean, there's all sorts of films coming out, but I would actually have to say Star Wars did actually have a big influence on me growing up as a child.
And your character, your main character in the book, you kind of wanted to, if you had a choice of an actress that would be able to portray this.
Who would I like to play Marshall Ankara?
Right.
Ooh, I know who I'd like to play her mother, but who would like to play Marshall Ankara? There is an actress, she's an English actress, and you probably know her as playing Lady Mary out of Downton Abbey, and that would be Michelle Dockery, I think that's her name. But there's many other American actresses that I do admire as well.
And you said for the mother character, who would that be?
To play Marshall Ankara's mother, that would have to be Linda Carter.
You thought that would be more of a fit for her?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I said Linda. Well, I suppose Linda did actually play such a strong character as Wonder Woman, and I thought it'd be so appropriate for her to play a character whose daughter is also a strong character herself. And
we know from looking at other films that books are a huge part of, if you want to see a film or create a TV series or a film, that having a book or having something, a screenwriting or something to relate that to has a huge portion and a part of that. So hopefully, someone will take a look at this and say, hey, this may be a great feature film, or this would be a great short or something like that.
It's taken me a long time to get to have my dream become a reality, and if somebody would be great for a film, I would be absolutely over the moon if something like that happened. Now,
you said you had some trouble with it a little bit. So for someone who's just starting out writing their first book, what are some key points that you want to tell someone to say that helps you keep going?
My family and my friends. I said again, if I'm having any, and if I'm struggling in a certain part of the book, I know they do say never get a relative to proofread your book, but there have been times when I've actually had my mother reading a section of my book to see if it flows well. And one thing, my mother doesn't really understand science fiction. She knows what she does and doesn't like. I mean, she does like crime novels and MI5, MI6 type thriller stories. So if she's actually reading something and something doesn't actually make sense, she will actually come up to me and say, this part of the plot, Kim, is very, very good, but it doesn't actually flow properly. So I would actually have a discussion with her, and we'll rewrite the plot so it still follows the same route that I originally wrote, but discussing it with her, the plot line, let's say, makes more sense and it flows better. But yeah, I do value friends and family's advice if they're actually reading any part of it. That if they enjoy it, then I know hopefully that the book is worthwhile publishing.
What are some of the hurdles you had to go through?
Any troubles with getting it published?
Not necessarily troubles. Yeah, troubles or hurdles. What were some of the things that you encountered that you didn't expect to happen when you're writing the book? I guess roadblocks. Yeah,
I did actually have a couple of mental blocks, and the book that I'm writing at the moment with a friend, there are times I did actually have mental blocks, and what would happen is I'll just leave the chapter for a couple of days, take a break, and then I will be reading the newspaper, or I'll be watching the news, or I'll be watching a TV series, and then something might spark my interest, and it'd be like, hold on a moment, maybe I can actually work that into the plot line of my book.
And that helped you get through any type of mental block you had?
Yeah, there's a couple of times when I've actually been reading a headline in the newspaper or watching something on the news, and it'd be like, yeah, that looks like a good idea, or that my heroes were in a difficult situation, and it was like, how do I get them out of it? And then I will be reading something, or I'll be watching something, and it'd be like, that looks quite a good idea of how to get them out of that little tricky situation.
I see. And again, your book is available on Amazon and also Kindle.
It's made, yes, on Amazon's Kindle, e-readers, tablets, etc., and you should be able to read my book that way.
Gosh, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. It's wonderful to finally get to speak to you, Danielle.
Yeah, and I'll keep following you on Twitter, and I'm hoping that more people follow you. Check out your book.
You're very welcome.